I would just go ahead. It's called the rain. Alright? Here goes. I never really loved my grandfather. He would guess too much. Like the tool to decipher expressions, emotions half murdered under the front of my cheek as it got uplifted as a smile. He always told me that I should follow the path of religion, drowning my childhood in endless summons of spirituality. I did not believe. He loved me too much. Maybe that had some weird way of explaining his romanticizing the heaven. For any discomfort, hell might scorn me. I remember him saying that I have been the odd egg in the family, a person who built walls with vowels and achievements so high that no matter how many consonants there were, they could never poke a hole through my defenses. I explained that I could not understand, and he explained that I could never mingle with my siblings because I was awkward. I did not have a friend, but it was okay. I hated him for that. I hated him for that because he understood me before I could understand myself. Because he accepted me as I was before I could accept myself. He told me that it was okay to be unapproachable. It was okay to be weird. It was okay to be awkward. It was okay to be this cactus of misunderstanding, to be this cactus of a person who only sees maturity. While every breath that I took was a prisoner inside my lungs, bruising and aching to get out and be told that I was innocent. I hate him because he knew that I would never be like his other grandchildren. He knew that I would always be the off notes in this tattered symphony of a soul. I hated him because he knew all this. It was about 7 in the evening when my father gave me a call which I was exactly not waiting for. He had been asking me to come and meet my grandfather, not since the last few days, but since the last few months. How could I meet that man the last time I met him? He told me that I should patch things with my cousin sister. Just tell me, how do I build bridges in thin air? How do I build bridges in thin air when the foundations have been disappearing into endless charades of longing and disappointment? He told me that family is all that there is. He told me that I was the switch that kept the lights on, awake. I was his insomnia in his old age. I do not think that I replied that I ever replied that. I had just been out of a poetry session. I talked about writer's block to my attendees, suffering from one of my own, helplessly searching for some substance strong enough just maybe to write a piece of poetry. My father's call was the first and the last thing that I expected. I drove as fast as I could to the half-lit hospital corridor, zooming and rushing and hushing through all the traffic there was, hoping that maybe, just maybe, I would get to see the face of the man that I hated so much. I could see my father limping, struck with a paralytic attack. It was difficult to imagine a man, massive as he was, struggling to stand up. A boxer in his days, he was strong enough, but he was the youngest in the family, yet he had not sat down for a single second. He had not shed a single tear, not even once. I could see his elder brother, a vague image of who he was usually. I could see that his face was filled with redness. His aorta was not strong enough as his face, as his willpower, so his eyes were red with grief. I walked up to my father. My father whispered to me, "Are you hungry?" At that point, prayers, long forgotten, choked the soul out of me. Tears like meanders made its way through the optic nerves, which had lain barren for a decade now. I could not hug him, could not eat, could not speak, could not drink, could not emote. My father's universe had just crashed, and all he cared about was if I had lunch for my food, if I was hungry. Minutes later, my cousin, the operating doctor, comes out of the operating room and points at me. He wants to meet you. I did not, I do not, and I would never want to know why that was his last wish. I walked into that room, disgusted with myself. Oh no, not disgusted because I was like I had been hating him or something. I was disgusted because his death, the explosion of galaxies for my family, was just another substance of poetry for me. I was disgusted because I could write this as nothing more but an ode to the person I hated so much. I almost shivered from laughter as I entered that room. I could see him wearing a hospital robe, which was blue. Sky blue, his favorite color. I could not walk up to him. It was like magnetic repulsion every step I took threw me 2 steps backwards. It was like the life force sucked out of him was so gigantic, so enormous, but pitifully small in front of my guilt and remorse. I moved closer, and before I could utter a word, he said, "Remember the chalks? Remember the sidewalks? How you painted those sidewalks with chalks, believing that God used to talk to you? Remember how you asked him one night that is it him who cries when it rains? Remember how you thought that he never replied back to that question? Remember how you never talked to him, never drew on sidewalks anymore, because you thought that he did not care, because he was just God, and you stopped praying." I was not stopping. My intestines were clutching my abdomen, like they would blow them with dynamite to bring them down. Maybe you were right, my child. Maybe you were wrong. I would ask him about it when I meet him, and also I would let you know, my dearest child. My knees were a collapsing ensemble of bones. My ribs were now a cage of hushed down lament. Now breaking the barriers with all its force, I just could not. At 10:16 p.m., my grandfather vanished through vermilion hopes and fragrant expectations. I was driving back home now. I have never been good with emotions, expressions. I have always murdered them under the weight of my uplifted cheek and smile. That night, the weight of my uplifted cheek was just not enough to counterbalance the tears in my eyes. I never really loved my grandfather. I loved what he symbolized for me. I loved the fact that he was the apostle of beliefs reinstated and promises kept. I looked up at the hollow skies and I shouted, "I do not believe in you anymore."